here, I want to talk very quickly about interviewing, because if again, what's the topic here? We're talking about how to become an irresistible candidate, and we've talked about how important interviewing is because it's where the hiring manager is really starting to get down to what kind of people skills do you have? Do you have the aptitude that I'm looking for, or do you have the hard skills that I need, depending on where you're at in your career progression? But Naomi, what would you say is like a make or break moment in front of the hiring manager during the interviewing process?
Oh man, I could think of some. Just in particular, I mean, if you show any times where you don't have any integrity, that's definitely a break moment. I've definitely had people just admit straight up that they lied on a resume and
Yikes.
and stuff like that. It just all comes tumbling out, or they paid someone to do their take home project, right? I'm just well, like, integrity is definitely a break. In
Oh
terms of
yeah.
in terms of a make, I would say if you're great at conversations and telling stories about yourself and explaining why you're interested in a job, that to me is an absolute make moment, because if any hiring managers worth their salt, they understand that you're not above anybody. You're very much equals. As humans, you're equals. And so you should very much think about a conversation as a two-way conversation. Every interview is two ways. You are also trying to get them on your team, like to hire them. They're going to say, why should I work for you? Why should I give my time, energy, and talent to you? Right. So you as a hiring manager should be putting on your best self and being able to be a great person, like have a great conversation with somebody, and the other person should be doing the same thing. So you have an equal, a respectful conversation, and that's
Hmm.
absolutely a make moment when I can see them just bringing their full self, being confident, asking me questions, and showing and getting me to prove that I'm worth working for, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Jason, make or break moments in interviews
Yeah.
for you. What do those look like?
So for me, I would say the make moments are when I find somebody and I ask them a question and they're able to not just answer the question, but make it so that it's so relatable and so understandable to anyone. So a great example of this is I might ask you, hey, Kip, explain to me how when you go to bankofamerica.com, you create a secure session between you and that server to transfer information. Now, if you go in there and you start telling me all about SSL and TLS 1.3 and how there's a PKI handshake that occurs and how we create this tunnel, all the technical details, that's great from a technical perspective, but it really doesn't help me understand if you can communicate to a non-technical audience. And a lot of what we do in cyber is explaining things to non-technical audiences. And so, I would like to hear somebody kind of say, well, it's kind of like this, and here's an analogy of how it works, right? And you can still cover the technical aspects, but you're
Hmm.
also making it very relatable. Um, I find that to be, really a make moment for us in most careers and most places I've been, because when you're dealing with the end user, even if you're doing customer support, right, you're dealing with an end user who doesn't know all that terminology and jargon. They want to understand what does it mean
Right.
behind it. A
Yeah.
break, I definitely agree with Naomi. If you lie and I find out about it during the interview, that's pretty quickly you're not going to be a candidate for me. That's pretty much the biggest break for me is if I find out you lie, cheat, and steal, like I just don't have time for that. We're too small. Or I get the feeling that you're looking for a job and not a career. I want somebody who wants to be with me for a while, because hiring is time consuming. And so, if I ask, why do you want this job? And your answer is because I like money and money can be exchanged for goods and services. Yeah, it's a cute answer, but that's not the guy I want working on my
It's
team,
not
right? I
enough.
want somebody who wants to be here because we're mission driven. We have a thing to do and we want you to be on board doing that. How about you, Kip? What's your make or break?
Well, so I'll first of all, I'll agree on the break, right? This is a high integrity environment. It's your reputation at risk here, and our community, although it's growing, is actually still pretty small. I keep running into the same people over and over and over again, and if you're interviewing for me, I can pretty quickly figure out who supervised you in the past, and I go ask them, about your integrity. So integrity is huge. A big make for me, although I wouldn't disagree with anything you guys said as a make moment. But one thing that people don't really understand is that, from my perspective as a hiring manager, why am I hiring you? Well, I'm hiring you in part because I need you to make my life easier. Right. I've got all this work that needs to be done. I need reliable people that I can assign work to, and to know that they're going to get that work done with quality, on time, hit the deadlines. And it just seems to me like a lot of folks don't really understand that, that's a huge part of why people hire other people, and I don't blame them necessarily for not understanding that, because if you've never been in a position to hire somebody, how can you know that, deep down in your soul, how can you know that? but that's kind of why Jason and I are doing our podcast, is to share things that candidates probably can't see, is to share those with you. Because when somebody in an interviewing process expresses any sense, right, that one of the big things that they're here to do is to make my job easier, boy, that's a make moment for me.
Yeah, I think one of the other break moments for me is when a candidate comes off as, "What can you do for me?" Right? So when you say, you always get that part of the interview, and it's like, "Hey, Naomi, what are the questions you have for me?" Right? And then the candidate's going to say, "Oh, well, I want to know about this in your company culture. I want to know about this or that." If the candidate immediately starts asking about how much time off I'm going to get, when are pay raises happening, what are the bonus structures like, all that kind of stuff, it starts going, well, you don't really care about what we're doing. You're caring about what our company can do for you. Those are all good things to ask, maybe in third or fourth interview as you're going down negotiations. But if we're in the first or second interview, it's probably not a good time to bring all that stuff up.